Hi, this is Michelle Medrano. Welcome to another episode of Contemplate This, where we contemplate your spiritual questions and spiritual ideas. Today I want to talk about the difference between judgments and boundaries. As people who are spiritual, we want to be loving and kind. And our culture, especially here in the Western part of the world, has taught us that there's meaning and importance to being a loving, kind, polite person. And at the same time, there are things that people do that don't work for us or don't align with us. And I hear spiritual people all the time saying, I want to be loving, but if I'm not loving, I feel like I'm being judgmental. And I'm suggesting today that there's a way to tell the difference and that there's something in between just being loving and letting everyone walk all over you and say whatever they want and do whatever they want, or being judgmental and rude and mean to people and locking people out of our hearts. The difference for me is that word, that concept of boundaries. I definitely believe in being loving. I believe that people are making their own choices and walking their own path, and that part of my loving kindness and compassion for all of my brothers and sisters on this planet is to understand that not everybody's going to walk the path in exactly the way that I personally think they should be walking the path, and that sometimes, most of the time, it's none of my business that they're walking the path the way they're walking it. If I'm in a personal relationship with someone or our lives intersect in some way, then there comes an opportunity for me to constantly question myself of how can I be a loving, kind, compassionate person. But there are things that people do that are mean or rude, or things that people say that feel hurtful to me. And so how do I process that without being judgmental? To me, being judgmental is that if you've said something or done something or have some behavior, judgments come with a very strong emotional reaction from me. And that emotional reaction is basically, you're wrong and you shouldn't have done that. And it literally does come with the finger pointing, right? You shouldn't have done that. How dare they have said that to me? How could they have said that? And that kind of reaction shows me that I've got a charge about something, that I've got a little work to do. A boundary, however, comes when your behavior and your demeanor or your way of speaking to me is a way that I don't prefer or is not in alignment with who I am or what I'm doing. And in those moments, I can have a boundary and say, we need to talk about this. This isn't working for me. We need to talk. We need to move forward. We need to distance ourselves. So sometimes when people do forgiveness work, they think, well, if I forgive that person, does that mean that I have to have them in my life? And I'd say, judgment, if I'm being judgmental, you will never be in my life because you hurt me. A boundary is, I know that you're someone who tends to be violent. So my boundary is, no, you're not in my life because I know this about you, and I know that you currently are unable to be calm. You're unable to be respectful. You're unable to have a conversation with me. So my boundary is that we should not be in the same space with one another until we both can be respectful and have conversation. It's not that we can't disagree. It's not that we can't walk diverse paths and be very different. It is, however, that we can talk about it respectfully and with kindness, with curiosity, with an open mind and an open heart. And it's not that we can't say, that way that we interacted with each other doesn't work for me. I can't have a conversation when you're shouting and yelling at me. I can't have a conversation. We can't have a respectful relationship if you're harming me physically. We can't have a respectful conversation if we can't agree to disagree. And in those cases, I think having a boundary of we can't be friends anymore, we can't have a relationship anymore, I bless you on your path, we can't interact anymore, we need to part ways, we need to keep our distance, we need to go get some support until we can come back together. These things are the stuff that boundaries are made of. And spiritually loving, compassionate people, spiritually mature people begin to learn to work with being loving and kind and compassionate while having boundaries? I'd love to hear your comments on this. I'd love to hear what you think. So please feel free to make a comment in the box below. And thanks for tuning in once again to Contemplate This. See you next time.